Hi everyone, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us for today's live Q&A every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific time to 5:30, taking your general educational based immigration questions. Today we're live on Immigration Lawyer's TikTok page for Immigration Lawyer John, which we're there every weekday. And on Tuesdays, we're on Instagram, JQK Law Firm, with the recording of this on YouTube for the JQK Law Firm YouTube page. Please like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get the latest updates related to news that comes out with regards to immigration law. And if you have a marriage green card case that's you're thinking about doing, you start doing, or anything related, go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com/ebook and download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card ebook. It's the most thoroughly written, general synopsis of the process that you can find, and I'm happy to put that out there to help people through this process. I think the guidance is tremendous, and it'll really take you to the next level, especially when you want to start hiring an attorney. It'll give you a lot of ideas. Having said that, is there anything else we need to talk about? The usual disclaimer is educational only again, but with that, let's get it started. All right, thank you everyone for joining today. As I mentioned yesterday at the beginning of the show, the visa bulletin was out for visa cases. Abdul Washat, good morning to you too. Good to see you again. Regular Karoja, hello to you too. And thank you everyone who's joining us on Instagram. The visa bulletins came out. Not much has changed. Just the EB3 categories for India, Vietnam, and Philippines did have a year jump forward. So that's going to be really special for a lot of people that are affected by that backlog. On Instagram, we have our first question. Pavan says, will there be an upcoming rules or proclamations coming up in the Trump administration? Well, I mean, maybe, maybe not. That's really just guessing the future. I don't have any information on that. Abdul Shah says, latest news on USCIS. No news. They don't really give us anything other than they've updated their website to make it even less usable. Even though it looks nice, I have a hard time figuring out where everything is. So it's usually bad news. Yeah, I wouldn't want to ask. BM says, I-485 interview canceled, descheduled after 5 months of waiting, no EAD yet. I feel stuck. Unfortunately, that is the case right now. They're have to restart the system, and a lot of cases are pending for adjustment of status without interview. The employment authorization document, the work permit, hopefully that comes if it's taking beyond the regular processing times, which you can check on USCIS.gov. They made it harder to find the button, but you can check for it. If it's longer, just contact USCIS, let them know it's delays. If the response is not coming or good, try contacting your local congressperson, or if needed, make an expedite request. So all these things are possible to try to hurry up and get the EAD. But be mindful that even if you get the work permit approved, the EAD approved, they may not be able to print it because they are having funding issues with regards to actually printing the green cards. This is a crazy thing to say, but that's the situation we're dealing with in 2020. The government doesn't have enough money, or probably doesn't want to put enough money to actually doing a big portion of this job. Raul says, any knowledge you can share on CPT like eligibility rules? Well, I mean, that's the whole thing, knowledge. I mean, you got to be mindful of what's going on with CPT, properly tell your school about it, set it up. Be careful what's called first day CPT. Frequently that could be fraudulent and become a problem later on when you do other immigration stuff. But the best thing to do is to consult an immigration attorney. Unfortunately, many students don't do that, and most of the time it's fine, but sometimes it becomes really bad. And this week, once the situation with the government said, F1 students have to leave and all that, although the issue was fixed up because people sued and complained, that opened up the bag where I've just been getting calls from students and scheduling consultations from students, international students, left and right, who are coming to me and have all sorts of issues that they didn't even think about until this popped up and they started noticing it. So if you're an international student, please consult an immigration attorney. Talk to your DSO, and always have an immigration attorney on hand that you have a relationship with so you can ask questions. Because I just see catastrophic stuff. I just have a student right now who's about to get kicked out of school because of paperwork error. And once we sat down in consultation to fix it, and we realized she's actually a U.S. citizen. She's been a U.S. citizen since she was born. So, I mean, it's that crazy, the things you'll find when you're talking with an immigration attorney that could review your case. On Instagram, What Great Scott says, has processing time for K1 visa been delayed due to pandemic? Not really. My processing times for I-130s and K1s aren't that different, so not necessarily. Jignesh says, why EB1C for India moving so fast now? There's just calculations that are happening, more visas available in one area given to, I can't give you an exact answer, but just be happy. Okay, let's go back to TikTok. I think we have some question here. Hidan says, How about citizenship, please? How about it? You have to ask a specific question. I can't answer a question like how about citizenship. Abdul always says if you're saying anything new happening, not necessarily. It really depends on the details of your case. Abdul Shah says, is it true that USCIS are faking on not having enough money to keep their employees? Well, I'm not a reporter. I haven't investigated it. I don't really believe them when they say they don't have money. I am doubtful and hesitant to believe them, especially because of their track record. But maybe it's true. I don't know. But it's pretty ridiculous for an agency to say that and have these kind of problems. It's just unbelievable. But we have no control over that unless you want to do some really big lawsuits or something. Kyra says marriage interview. Okay, I don't know what to say. It's not a question. John says, if an adjustment of status marriage base passes 2 years while waiting for the interview, would you still get a conditional green card? So I did a video on this. You can check it out on YouTube. But essentially, if at the time that your green card is approved, or at the time of admission, if you got your green card through consular processing, that date is more than 2 years after your marriage, then yes, you will get a permanent green card, not a conditional green card. So it works to your benefit. I have one case, and this is the only case I've ever had that's been like this, but the paperwork just for some reason taking forever, and we're about to hit the 2-year mark on it. Usually my cases are done in less than a year, or most of a year. And so it's saying 2 years. I just don't know what happened with that case. But it's good now, because if it does hit the 2 years, which it will, they're just going to get the full 10-year green card, not a conditional green card, which saves them the hassle of having to file Form I-751 and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of works to their benefit. It does delay getting citizenship because it's taking so long, but I'd rather not do I-751 removal conditions. It's such a extra hassle to do. Now, one problem that does happen is sometimes USCIS issues a full 10-year green card when it should have issued a conditional green card. So it does work the other way around. There's errors, so be mindful of that. If they do issue it incorrectly, it's up to you to fix it. But also, if you have a 2-year green card or a 10-year green card, they issue, just be careful. You have to get what's appropriate, and you have to fix it. Mistakes do happen when they issue a 10-year green card as opposed to a 2-year, or a 2-year as opposed to a 10-year. Both ways of that happen. Just be mindful that these things happen. Kyra says, waiting for a marriage interview. Yeah, you have to wait. They're not scheduling for the most place field offices. They're either very slowly scheduling marriage green card interviews or not scheduling at all. And that's just the situation. You have to be patient until you get your turn. Rad says, after receiving a request for evidence, how long does it take for next step? There is no timetable for that. Unless you're an employment-based case or business case that has premium processing, there is no timeline as to how quickly they'll respond to requests for evidence. I have one request for evidence that's pending over a year now. That's for an employment-based case too, that does not allow premium processing. But it is what it is. If you think it's taking too long or 6 months, a year, you can try making a request, a service request for USCIS and say, hey, what's taking so long? They'll probably just tell you need to wait longer. It is what it is. And then you can get a congressperson involved potentially, or maybe the ombudsman if it is ridiculously long. But in general, there is no timeline for them to respond to a request for evidence. You're welcome, Rahul. Harry says, sir, my lawyer applied for my green card in 2019 in September, but my receiving letter doesn't come yet. My lawyer said it's happened sometimes. Is that true? Are you saying that you haven't got a receipt yet? I mean, it does happen sometimes, but I'd be very cautious. If it's this many months you haven't got a receipt, that's a major issue. So you have to see whether they cashed a check in your case or charge your credit card if you use that kind of thing. So be mindful. I don't know. I have to see what's going on, but you need a receipt. If it's just pending that long, that could be normal. But this is something I need to check out the case. But there's ways to check to see if it went through, and if you haven't got a receipt yet, you should contact USCIS to figure out what's going on. Was the case rejected or not? Because you might have a rejected case and be out of status right now. There's a lot of catastrophic things that can happen, but that's that. Let's see. So yeah, that's a weird situation. I mean, how it works with USCIS is after you submit a petition application, about a week or two later, you get a receipt in the mail that has your case tracking number. If sometimes, especially when you're working with a Chicago lockbox for a green card case, it may take 4 or 5 weeks if they're really busy, which is really frustrating. But before that, you will notice that they either cashed a check on your case or they charged a credit card. That's an indication that things have been moving forward before you get the receipt. But it's important you get that receipt within a month or two, or else you got to contact them. And sometimes they reject the case for some reason, they send the case back, you'll get a notice of that as well. So if you filed and you didn't get a receipt or a rejection notice, it's kind of weird. You check to see if the filing fee was cashed. And there's another thing you could do, I think it's called Form G1150 or 1145 or something like that. It's a form you submit with the application that gives your name, phone number, and email, and once USCIS does process the case, they send you a text message or an email that says, we have your case as additional information. So there's different ways to do it, but you shouldn't, if you don't get a receipt or a rejection notice in 2 months' time, there's just something wrong with it. And if you tracking the money is one way to tell in the other system I said, but that's kind of bizarre in this case that we talked about earlier, that you haven't got anything. So that's definitely something that's very bizarre. Okay, Harry says, sir, do you take SIGIS cases or no? No, I don't do handle special immigrant juvenile cases. Let me know, email me and say what city you're in, and maybe I can find a colleague that does, or maybe you could try to contact some pro bono agencies. Catholic Charities does a lot of SIGIS kind of cases, but my office doesn't handle those, no. As says, are they taking interviews for I-751 due to COVID-19? I submitted my case in 2019, June. I don't know. No, they're not taking interviews for the most part for I-751s, but they're essentially only taking naturalization cases, very rarely other types of cases. But for the I-751, there's not always an interview required. So it's potentially that you just won't need an interview, and you might get, if you did a good job with the case and you have a lot of bona fide proof of relationship, they just might approve the green card. It's been since June, so June, July, August. It's around 13 months. That's not abnormal. You can still just get approved without an interview potentially in your case. So it's not that off this timetable that you're looking at right now. Unfortunately, the I-751 removal conditions takes an exorbitant amount of time to finish. This actually think it'd be something that you go faster. Madison says, can you explain about I-944? Says, thanks, you're welcome. Well, Form I-944 was one of the achievements of the administration to really hurt immigration to the United States because they couldn't figure out other ways to do it. And Form I-944 is a USCIS form that you submit when you're applying for adjustment of status in most types of cases. And the goal of that is to analyze to see whether the foreign person who's getting a green card can afford to support themselves in the United States. So they look at, see if you have health insurance or not, how much income and assets you have, how many debts you have. I might have said you have health insurance or not. Do you have any bankruptcies in the past? Have you used public services in the United States? Have you got money from the federal government, for example, to help you? That's a major negative. And they take this and credit reports and a myriad of other stuff, education background, English language skills, certifications, licenses, all of this kind of stuff, and they leave it up to an officer to make a determination in the totality of the circumstances. Do you think this person is going to be a public charge in the United States? Are they going to cost U.S. taxpayers money? And so they may approve it, they may not. Now, when this rule came into effect, it was, I think, February 24th. Soon afterwards, they shut down most of the cases that require this Form I-994 because I-944, I can't remember, but because of COVID-19. So we really don't know what is going on and how they're going to adjudicate these cases, because as we've been talking about a lot of people are asking, when is my adjustment of status green card review? We don't know. They're not scheduling those. So everyone who submitted Form I-944 affidavit declaration of self-sufficiency has really not been adjudicated. Maybe a few that we don't know about, I don't know about, but in general, they have not been adjudicated yet. So we don't know how strict they're going to be on this. Is this going to be a thing that leads to a lot of denials? Maybe yes, maybe no. And where this comes from is the administration wanting to take away, in particular, the ability for a U.S. citizen to be able to apply for their parents' green card. And so the way that it's written, 9944, if you're above a certain age, if you're retired, if you have health issues that could potentially lead you to go to hospital, it makes it much easier for them to deny your green card case. And that really goes towards parents of U.S. citizens. So it's a back channel way of denying those kind of cases. So if you do have a parent of a U.S. citizen case applying for a green card within the United States, you really need to consult an attorney to create a very strong case for the I-944 Declaration of Self-Sufficiency to show that the parent could support themselves, they have the support to support them, and they speak English, have health insurance, have education, have training, have blah, 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 all this kind of stuff to help make it a stronger case. But it's going to be a nightmare depending on how strict they're going to take it. It could easily be a way that's going to hide massive denials on immigration cases based on discretion in the interpretation of the officer handling your case. So just bad news, let's put it that way. And it's also doubled the amount of time and paperwork that I as the attorney need to do. And as you would think, it has also changed the legal fee. Now it's hard to double up the fees all of a sudden on people. So what's happened is it's crushed a lot of lawyers, and because there's so much more work on their plate, but it's hard to just jack up the price because it's put a lot of pressure on people. But to be frank, that's been a major issue as well. So we got to think about ways to try to make it easier on people, the financial burden. But it's created a lot of additional work, a lot of headaches to be able to abide by it. And the instructions aren't clear for the form necessarily. We don't have examples of how it's done. And the administration says if they feel like a case is not done perfectly, they can just deny it because of that. So it's like a crazy situation. It's really just crazy. But we'll see. We'll see how strict this is, if the next administration can get rid of it. When, if, for example, President Trump doesn't get reelected and a new person comes into place, can they get rid of it? Because when bureaucracies anywhere in the world, once you start a program, it's really hard to pull it back. And so this is just a major issue. And Jignesh said, how they check burden on U.S. taxpayers? How do they check if it's a burden? These people will be, well, it's just the judgment of the officer. Now, most of the USCIS officers are pretty cool. I've talked with. They have understanding. They've been frustrated about this. That when I've talked to them, saying like, oh, I can't believe they're having us do this. But they do all sorts of analysis. We don't even know. Jimmy says, do they check for the last few years? Well, they ask about information about your financial background for the I-944. So it's a deep analysis that goes in there that we don't even know how it's going to be done, how they're going to have the time to do it, how mistakes are going to happen. They want you to print out your credit reports. The office is going to review a credit report. They want you to print out, not only show that you have health insurance, and the way they want it is so difficult. You have to have proof of health insurance of when it starts and when it ends on official paperwork from the health insurance company. And then they want to see a list of the benefits you get so they could judge to see whether the deductible is too high or is too low and what's covered and what's not. I'm in the U.S. I was born here. I can't understand health insurance paperwork. I'm sure a lot of you can't either. It's so complicated. So you just buy it not knowing what you get, what you can get, because it's just a booklet of all this complicated information. How are they going to do it? The credit reports. If you're foreign, you don't have a social security number, how are you going to get a credit report? They haven't given us good instructions on that. So it's just a nightmare from the beginning to end. There has to be a complete revamp of it if it's going to continue. But we'll see. I think this is intentional to make things more difficult and to higher and increase the denial rate, especially for parents of U.S. citizens and people who have large family sizes. So if you apply for your brother and sister and then your brother has a lot of children, now it's not the I-944, it's the DS-5540 through consular processing through the embassy, but that's a way to get larger family sizes or people who don't speak English well. So it's a different ways of really hurting the immigration community. So be prepared for that. That's down the line. It's going to start popping up. We're going to be hearing the stories about this really soon as the adjustment of status interviews start to pick up. There's more I can talk about that, but I think I should just get back to questions. So John says, pending adjustments, my India status. Okay, so John says, I have a pending adjustment of status. They have a green card case based on marriage pending and just got a work permit, and I'm out of status while waiting for interview. When you're waiting for an interview, if you filed for I-485, and I did another video on this on YouTube, it's more thorough on JK Law Firm's YouTube page, you are out of status, but you're in a period of authorized stay. They could pick you up if they want to, the ICE or immigration authorities, but they usually won't. But a lot of that depends on what your status was at the time of filing and what kind of marriage case it is. Is it marriage to a green card holder or U.S. citizen? Did you have lawful entry or not? So there's a lot more information I need to know to be able to analyze your case, John. So definitely consult with an attorney in private about what's going on in your case. It's not something I just say you're out of status or not. There's more information I need to know to be able to give guidance. It's too case specific. Okay, Savio says, my spouse, final I-131, okay, your spouse filed an I-131 and moved them at the mail, come back. Oh yeah, Savio, your sentence is unreadable for me. So I think you might say you started the case and you moved. That's a major issue. You got to notify the immigration office if you do move, if that is your question. You can use a Form AR-11 online. Form AR-11, it's online, but also call them in is probably the better way to do it because they may have issues with the system and not get it. All right, let's see. You're welcome, John. Savio says, USCIS not giving you a reply. I don't know. I have to see what's going on. I didn't follow your previous sentence, but really you need to analyze what's going on to see what's going on in your particular case. Consult with an attorney in private. And one thing about having a lawyer on a case is a lawyer is supposed to get copies of everything USCIS sends you. So whenever my clients get a receipt, if they get a biometrics notice, if they get an RFE, if they get an interview notice, if they get a notice of intent to deny, a denial, any communication that USCIS does with the client, they send to the lawyer as well. And that's really important because sometimes clients miss the appointment notice. If they don't go to their appointment, their case is canceled. But as the lawyer, get a copy, and I notify them when I get that and say, oh, by the way, I got an appointment notice, be prepared, July 18th or July 30th, they're going to get an appointment, and that really helps them out if they didn't get it. And that happens frequently enough. So that's one of the pluses of having a lawyer on the case, that they could follow up and get additional copies of everything that you're getting. Shah Rukula says, while you're a citizen when applying for parents, what's going on with sisters over 21 year age? Well, if you have siblings over 21, you can file for their green cards. If they're under 21 too, that's it. So I've talked about that a lot. There's other videos about the strategy used for filing parents, but if the sibling is over 21, then that's already an issue. John says, really quick on Instagram, Carranza says, hey, I have TPS and my dad is a resident and he claimed me in 2016. How much longer I have to wait till I receive food stamps for my 4 kids? Will it affect my paper? Karzad, that's a lot going on. That's too case specific. I need to consult with you in private to be able to give guidance on that. And really, things related to food stamps and benefits are not my specialty, so I'd recommend calling Catholic Charities. They have a pro bono part that can maybe help you. John says, do they still use the 90-day rule? So I'm going to talk about this briefly. I have a lot of videos about this, and you'll find a lot of videos from other immigration attorneys and websites have this completely wrong, so be prepared for this. But USCIS does not have a 90-day rule. They just analyze each case. And what the 90-day rule used to be and currently is, if you're dealing with a case for the embassy consular processing, is if you enter the United States with one status and one intention, if you change your intentions too quickly, they may accuse you of lying and saying the original intention was not right. So for example, if you enter the United States with a tourist visa, you're saying, I'm coming as a tourist temporarily to just have fun or whatever. But if you come in a week later and you sign up for school and then want to change to a student visa, or if you then quickly come and get married and file for a marriage case, the idea behind the 90-day rules is that you, within 90 days, made this huge change. And so your intent when you originally came, like on that tourist visa, was misrepresentation or fraud. You weren't really coming as a tourist. You were coming in to enroll in school and bypass the embassy system to get the visa, or get married and apply for a green card here. USCIS does not apply this at all. They do a case-by-case analysis, usually very lenient, in particular for cases related to marriage to a U.S. citizen. Now, when I say lenient, it can still get you. So be prepared for that if you are switching status too quickly after entry, or if your intent was not really to do what you said you were going to do when you entered at the border, or you lied at the embassy to get a visa, or you lied at the airport when you entered. But this really pops up in people marrying U.S. citizens. USCIS, according to the Board of Immigration Appeals, Matter Cavazos, is not supposed to be stringent on this. However, the embassies are. Their playbook is different, and President Trump redid the 90-day rule to make it very strict. So this is getting way too complicated, but if you have these kind of situations, even before you get to it or get married or change status, consult with an immigration attorney. I'm frequently dealing with this, and there's so much bad information about this online, and so many lawyers that are being wrong, even very established lawyers, that are ruining people's lives. So really just talk with a few different lawyers. Talk to at least 5 lawyers if you are worried about the 90-day rule, because 4 of them will probably be wrong on it and not give you the good advice from what I've seen, unfortunately. So USCIS does not have a 90-day rule. The embassy does. Now USCIS takes a case-by-case interpretation. They could be strict on it, so it could be a problem. But if you are basing, changing status or adjusting status based on marriage to a U.S. citizen, I have never seen that be a problem. But you don't want to lie. Don't lie. But if you do come in as a tourist, and then people go to Las Vegas and get married all of a sudden, things like that pop up, and then, or COVID-19, you don't want to get on a plane to leave, so you change your status and just decide to apply for a green card here. Things happen in life, so it's not as strict, but be careful. You need to really consult an attorney to see what the best decision is under the circumstances. User 971 asks, we don't have clear photos of our wedding. Clearly, will that affect the interview? I got to see your whole situation. It's just not having pictures of the wedding. It's not good, but like it's a bigger thing that they're really analyzing things much deeper than just some wedding photos. So I have to see the whole picture and your whole story to be able to analyze that. Doja says, how long will it take for me to renew my green card of marriage? It depends on what kind of renewal. If you mean a 2-year to a 10-year green card, between 1 and 2 years on average, but could be shorter, could be faster, could be longer or shorter. Anava says, what does it mean it's being processed at our e-file case processing section location? It means that they're processing it through a new electronic system. It doesn't mean anything that makes any difference for you. Sunil says, a friend had a citizen interview last month and they held him because he didn't apply for selective service. Yeah, I just did a video, it's on YouTube, JK Law Firm YouTube page. If he didn't file for the selective service draft, between the ages of 18 and 26 or whatever the age range is, I think it's 18 to 26, they're most likely going to deny your citizenship case if you're under 31. So if you didn't file to be in the military, register with them, and you're a green card holder, or even if you're here unlawfully, eventually if you get a green card and get citizenship and you file for citizenship as a male before the age of 31, most likely they're going to deny your case for not signing up for the selective service draft. But after 31, they become lenient on it. So your friend, these are the things, like people thought, oh, I have an easy citizenship case, I'll just file it, and well, you have a major issue right here. You just wasted all that time and money. You could have just had a 2-second consultation at the very least with a lawyer, and they could have told you that. So this is why it's so important to talk with the lawyer. It's not that they're trying to rip you off. The immigration system is a minefield of just stuff that could get you. And that's what our job is here, is to help you guide you through it. Shagar says, why the green cards has an expiration like for 10 years when it says permanent residence? Well, the card itself expires and they want you to renew it, but your residency doesn't expire. So when you have a green card, even though there's an expiration of the card and you have to renew it, you don't lose your status. Your card could expire, even though you're not supposed to have an expired card, you're always supposed to renew it. You could have an expired green card for 20 years. That doesn't mean you've lost your residency. They just want you to renew that card frequently, probably just to keep up on you and see what's going on. But that's that. If you do lose your green card, it expires, and you don't renew it, you don't lose your residency, though. You are a resident, not always a resident, but as long as you don't break things that are related to it, it's fine. John says, thank you. I'll be making an appointment with you for a consultation. Well, thank you, John. Just email my office, info@jqqlaw.com. But to start, check out the Marriage Green Card, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card ebook to get a lot of good information. It's at marriageimmigrationlaw.com/ebook. And then if you like that, then email me and we'll schedule a consultation. There are fees for consultations. Once you email me, I can give you more information about that. Diatsi says, should we apply for a DACA the first time? You know, that's a case-specific advice, whether you should do that. Most likely, yes, you should give it a shot. But consult an attorney in private to talk about the pros and cons of it and what issues can pop up if you want to do that. Powerbeast, thank you for joining, good friend of mine, a fellow immigration lawyer. User 971 says, thank you so much for providing information. You're amazing for doing this on your time. Well, thank you so much. Very kind of you. While this is happening, I keep getting a phone call from this person. It's like a 6-1. I'm not sure why they keep calling me and not leaving a message. If you do call your immigration lawyer, you know, right now I'm doing a live video and my phones are here so I can see. Always just leave a voicemail, you know. Don't just keep calling over again, because right now this person called me 6 times. It's weird to that they can't just leave a voicemail and I keep calling. So when I answer that phone call and call them back, I'm already disinclined to accept them as a client. So there's a lot of psychological things you got to think about. Don't just keep putting people on blast. Just leave a voicemail and we'll call you back. You don't have to call 6 times. It is what it is. Okay, Palvis, thank you for joining. Sarami says, any good news about marriage-based interview in U.S. or not? I've talked about this already today. No, we're just waiting for them to actually start it up. So I'll take 1 or 2 more questions and we'll leave. So Salu says, how long does it take for fingerprinting appointment for naturalization Pittsburgh? I don't know. It's whenever they get around to meet and talk with you. So you just got to be patient. The timeline question doesn't make any sense in the current environment we're in. It's just whenever they get around to talk with you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I think that'll be the last question. I really appreciate everyone who came on. If you haven't already, please check out the Marriage Immigration Ultimate Marriage Green Card ebook. I gotta say, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card ebook. It's at marriageimmigrationlaw.com/ebook. And you'll get it. You'll really break down the best out there, breaking down the marriage green card case process in writing. So you have that. I'll be here again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Tomorrow's Wednesday. So we're going to be live on YouTube, the JQK Law Firm YouTube page, along with TikTok, which are here every weekday, Monday through Friday, at Immigration Lawyer John. And John is spelled John. Thanks again, everyone who came and joined and asked questions. It was a wonderful session. A lot of good questions. I enjoyed it and look forward to doing it tomorrow. Until then, be safe and God bless. Bye-bye.